Good evening and welcome to Daily Politics and Trust TV, your prime destination for sharp conversations on politics, policy and governance. I am Shafiu Suleiman. Tonight, we shine a light on two major issues making waves across Nigeria. First, the economy. The World Bank's latest Africa Pulse report projects a 3.6% rise in Nigeria's poverty rate by 2027. A grim forecast coming just days before the Tinubu administration marks the midpoint of its first term. Despite government claims that the renewed hope agenda is bearing fruit, economic experts warn of a deepening cost of living crisis and a possible slide into poverty-driven economic slowdown. To unpack these projections, we're going to be joined in a moment by Dr. Abdulrahman Abu Hamisu, a lecturer with the Department of Political Science and International Relations, University of Abuja. But in the studio here we have already Samuel Danjuma, a chieftain of the ruling APC. Thank you for coming.
Pleasure is mine.
Also tonight, the political temperature is rising fast. A fresh pace-off between Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu and Labour Party's 2023 presidential candidate Peter Obi is grabbing national attention. Governor Sanwo-Olu has accused Obi of making unpatriotic comments that could demarcate Nigeria during a lecture at Johns Hopkins University in the United States. Remarks, he says, were aimed at fueling personal ambition. The Lagos governor also took a swipe at Obi's record, claiming he failed to build a single school or hospital during his time as Anambra State governor. To dissect this political drama, we'll also be speaking with Ikenna Azamchine, a board of trustee member of the Obedient Movement, who will be joining us live from Enugu. Before then, let's start from the economic point of view. And let me start with you, Samuel, while we await, Dr. Abdulrahman to join the conversation. Once again, thank you for coming.
The pleasure is mine.
Right. In a moment, rather, in a couple of days from now, the Tinubu government will be marking its two-year in office, first four-year term. But the economic outlook is looking, gloomy, so to speak. Poverty is one key factor that is shaping the economic narrative now. It has been, consistently been the issue on the front burner. 3.6% rise is expected, in 2027. Right as we speak right now, Nigeria is housing, 15% of the world, those deeply entrenched in poverty. And of course, over 100 million, that is 106 million Nigerians are said to be below poverty line as we speak. All of this is coming, in the midst of so much talk from the presidency and its spokespersons, and government officials that the Tinubu renewed hope agenda is on track. How would you reconcile these issues?
Thank you for having me once again. We won't be able to make headway if we don't digress a little and go back memory lane. I've always said it that the problem with the Nigerian economy did not start with this administration, and it has been a problem that has started with previous administration even before this one. Far back in 2012, it was estimated that 61.7% of Nigerians, which is about 112.47 million Nigerians out of the 163 were living below $1 per day, far back as of 2012. And that's why I say...
No, but if you're to be fair now, perhaps you need to go back to the figures in 2023. Because in 2023, when President Tinubu took over, there are only 38.9% of Nigerians that are said to be, below poverty line. That is around 87 million people. And here we are talking about more than 100 million people, about 106 million. That means an increase. So how...
Now this, yeah, I was trying to do this. explain this to you now. I said in 2012. Now you said in 2023, before the advent of this administration, that there were about 87 million Nigerians who were. Now, these predictions are for 2027. This 3.6% increase is for 2027, not 2025. And these are just predictions. There's every possibility. See, one thing we must give to this administration is, I think I also went through that World Bank report, and you could see that there are lots of credit given to this administration that has to do with the reforms and the rest of them that this administration has put in place, and they have told us that the administration has taken steps to alleviate the suffering of the people. And certainly there's going to be midterm suffering, which is what people are experiencing now. And in the long run, things are going to be better, things are going to improve. As we speak, as of today, the price of foodstuffs in the market is on the decline. Nobody is talking about that. Most time, we are quick to announce when the things are not going the way we want. I will understand with them because we're getting close to another election here.
Yeah, but even before the elections,
there's every possibility, and with the reforms this administration has put in place, which the World Bank itself has admitted that this administration is doing a lot to make the difference in the economy.
But the figures are not reflecting. That's the point. Yes, because if you would be fair to Nigerians if you stick to the current figures, for instance, and then look at the time frame. The idea, perhaps, behind releasing the figure is to show that there has been substantial increase in terms of the number of people living below poverty line from 2003 to date. Over 10 million people have been added, to the list. So, if that is the case, would you say that we are progressing or retrogressing?
One thing with us on this part of the world is we're quick to blow alarm when we get some of those reports, not looking at what government is actually doing to better the lots of the people. When you talk about poverty, thank God you said 15%. That's what 15% of the world poorest people are found. Extremely poor people are found in Nigeria. Now, when you look at relatively, I remember I watched one of the advisors of the president, Mr. Tosin, talk about the variation when it comes to dollar and living below the dollar Nigerians living below, because what even World Bank says is that Nigerians are living below 2.7,
because they've also taken note of that.
Of the dollar. This administration is doing a lot. I talked about, the last time I was here, I talked about the tax reform bills and the rest of them. This administration has seen that these people, because I have done literal arithmetic, and I've seen that if you divide the 70,000 minimum wage, Nigerians should be earning about 2003, 2004, thereabout in a month, per day, which is above the dollar. And we should see the positive sides. Not only we have a lot of problems in our hands already. And what is this administration doing? This administration is doing everything humanly possible to review some of the policies they made to suit the present day reality. And we should also remember that this is not just about Nigeria alone. This has to do with the globe itself, worldwide. There's inflation, there's hunger, there's hardship everywhere in the world, not just Nigeria. It's just that we always zero down.
We are quick to generalize when it comes to.
Not we are quick to generalize. We are just quick to we are quick to announce the negative part because we feel we're not in term with we don't like the person who is there, who is really not at the present. So therefore, whatever he does, even if it's to better the lot of the people, we come out to say it's not. See, if this administration is not doing well,
what is the alternative narrative, Samuel? Because if you're saying so, now you should be able to tell Nigerians that in this aspect or in this sector, Nigeria is moving forward. Nigeria is making headways because the figures are showing a positive sign, for instance.
Exactly.
But here we are with even inflation, still on the rise.
The inflation as of today, the inflation is about 24.37%.
Yeah, so
which is a decline. Our foreign reserves are increasing. We're about over 40.92 billion dollars. There's improvement on. I told you now that the price of foodstuff in the market is dropping drastically. You could buy a bull bag of rice now less than 70,000, which is different from what it was even in December or in January this year. So there's a lot of workings of government and policies of government that is targeted at alleviating the suffering of the people. It's just that that's why I went back to 2012. This has been something that has been on for a long time, and you don't expect this administration to come in just 2 years and change everything in just are there people of Nigeria hungry? Yes. Is this government doing anything to alleviate their suffering? Yes. Is there room for improvement? Yes. Now, what I expect...
Is there a result? And Nigerians seeing the results? You should also say that.
There are results. I just told you prices of foodstuffs are dropping. Price of things in the price of commodities in the markets are dropping. I've told you that the inflation rate has dropped from what it was earlier, towards last year and earlier this year. It's about 24.37 now. They are dropping. Our reserves are increasing. Our foreign reserves are increasing.
But it's not reflecting on Nigerians because you're still battling with 40% depreciation in terms of the purchasing power of Nigerians.
I said something the other time. I said even when bag of rice was sold in this country less than 10,000, there were Nigerians who could not still afford it. So is this government doing a lot? Yes. We should be positive. We should be positive about improvement in government policies.
Let's bring in Dr. Abdulrahman Abu Hamisu. Just like I said earlier, he joins us from the University of Abuja, a lecturer with the Department of Political Science and International Relations. Thank you for joining the conversation, Dr. Abdulrahman.
Thank you for having me.
Right. You're coming at the time, Samuel is actually talking about what government is doing to address this major concern. The fact that, the projection around poverty levels in Nigeria put at 3.6% by the World Bank, in 2027. Right now, as we speak, there are more than 106 million Nigerians below the poverty line. That is an increase compared to where the president met it at slightly 87 million. What do you make up with the current projection? And does it reflect the reality of what we have in Nigeria?
Well, I listened to my brother and his argument about what government is doing. I think let us give this to him that he did not dispute the fact that there is poverty in the land, and that a lot of Nigerians are suffering. But again, he said government is doing a lot to turn the situation around. Now, give or take, for the fact that he agreed that we have a problem on our hand, which is the problem of poverty, which has been exacerbated by some of the policies this government has implemented. And he went further to say that the government is reviewing the policies to ensure that the suffering the people are going through is reduced to the barest minimum. That is what commended. But the reality on the ground is that more people are poorer today. People that used to feed themselves and feed their families, extend support to other persons, are now needing support. So you should know the gravity of the problem, where somebody will tell you that he has not eaten today and he doesn't know where his meal will come from. You see, there are two things that we needed to quickly take into consideration, or three things rather. Whatever government is doing that does not touch on these three things will not solve our problems. We don't need the dollar for us to be able to make garri available and cheaper in Nigeria. We don't need the dollar to make millet available and cheaper. We don't need the dollar to make yam available and cheaper. The trouble with us is the fact that we want to build a blue chip economy in an agrarian society, whereas we needed to concentrate in producing our needs. For instance, we need to quickly address the issue of insecurity, because the areas that we're having the challenges of insecurity are mostly the food basket of the nation. For instance, Benue and Plateau, Northwest and Northeast. You agree with me that majority of the food we consume in this nation usually come from the North Central, Northwest, and Northeast of this country. You talk about grains, you talk about rice, you talk about millet, talk about anything, including cattle. And now these areas have become avenues of for criminals that are terrorizing farmers, that are terrorizing almost everybody in this very particular location. The second issue is corruption and abuse of office. Because when monies that are meant to solve problems are not solving problems, problems are used as justifications to remove monies from the system in the name of appropriation, and then we're not getting results, then there will be a problem. For instance, agriculture ought to be our priority, apart from security being number one. Agriculture ought to be our priority. Now, the third issue is the issue of fair subsidy, whether to pay subsidy or not. The government hastily removed subsidy without due diligence, without having to analyze the likely consequences of that. For me, there are two options before us. It's either to fight the oil cabal that have turned the oil subsidy into their own money and they're siphoning money, or we come up with what the Yar'Adua government was doing in order to win our petroleum product from the hands of oil marketers that are interested in cheating Nigerians all the time. What the Yar'Adua did, he came up with the concept of NNPC filling stations all over the country, and they were selling at a subsidized rate, and then it was constantly supplied. Through that very particular process, the monopoly and the stranglehold of these people were broken. And then the opaque nature of payment was streamlined. And then when President Jonathan came on board, he maintained that when President Buhari came, they left that very particular policy without having to continue, and then they returned the oil sector back to the independent oil marketers, whose interest is not even the Nigerian economy or the Nigerian people, but the kind of profit they are going to be. So all of this put together, especially the removal of the subsidy, because today you produce, say, a basket of tomato in Kankia local government, say at the rate of 5,000, but you will need 40,000 to transport it between Kankia to Lagos. And by the time it gets to Lagos, you buy that very particular basket of tomatoes that you produce in Kankia for 5,000 at the rate of 50,000 or 60,000. Now, why I said agriculture, when President Muhammadu Buhari came on board, the issue of the Anchor Boras program, paddy rice were produced in Nigeria, and during that very particular time, we have a lot of millers that sprang up. We have fertilizer blending plant, so the multiply effect was really having positive effect on the economy, so that we were requiring little to import rice into this country. So we saved a lot of money from importation. And since this government came on board, we're not hearing anything about Anchor Boras program, not any other program that will revamp agriculture, because the basis of development anywhere in the world is agriculture, not petroleum, not technology.
Yeah, Dr. Abdulrahman, now looking at the picture you just painted, there are misplacement in terms of priority of our spendings. There is also a challenge of corruption, but talking about subsidy, it has gone, just like the government has said, and the damage, if it is, has been done. Now Nigerians are looking up to the authorities, perhaps to, address the aftershocks. He talked about how that, impacted cost of transportation and virtually cost of production and all of that. Now, what do you make up with, what the government has been doing in the last 2 years? Because keep insisting that the Renewed Hope agenda, especially in terms of addressing the economic challenges of the country, is yielding fruit. And here we are with the projection, and of course, even the current statistics showing that we are nosediving rather than, getting out of the woods. So where is the missing link?
You see, for every country that you see that is thriving or not thriving, it's a matter of choice that is made by the ruling elite or the governing elite, as we used to call them. Now, you cannot import policies that work in France or in America or in Britain to Nigeria. Nigeria is peculiar. You cannot even import policies from Nigeria to Ghana, because Ghana is different from Nigeria. The same thing Burkina Faso is different from Ghana or is different from Nigeria. And most of the countries that are developing today are countries that decided to look inward while interacting with the outside world. They take into consideration their most vulnerable group and what they needed in order to develop. When Singapore realizes that they needed three things to develop, one is a national language apart from English, they decided to go for Mandarin Chinese. And today, Singapore is developing. The second thing is to create world-class human resource so that companies can come to Singapore and establish their bases. And then they did that. And then the last thing was infrastructure. But they realized that they needed peace. So they decided to go for multiculturalism. And these four ingredients are responsible for the growth we've been witnessing in Singapore. Coming to Nigeria, we're always implementing IMF World Bank policies. I'm even happy that the judgment is coming from IMF World Bank. It's a verdict against themselves. It's a verdict against those that push Mr. President to adopt their policies, hook, line, and sinker. I know that in other climes, even in China, what they do is once they want to borrow any concept, and that concept is going to destabilize social interactions, especially the bond between the people and the government, what they do is to review such policies to make it suitable and amenable to the people of China. But in the case of our country, we bring everything hook, line, sinker. We don't look at the pros and cons. We start the implementation. And then by the time the consequences will come, we will even forget about the initial causes, and then we'll concentrate on the symptoms, thereby wasting our time without getting the desired result. So for me, it is a wake-up call to Mr. President. It is a wake-up call to almost everybody that are around the president that equally advise Mr. President to pursue policies that do not add value to the people of Nigeria. And as I said earlier on, I am happy that this particular report is coming from the same IMF World Bank that has been pushing our presidents and public servants to adopt policies that push people further into poverty. So I think there is a lesson here for us that we should rely on ourselves and we should go for homegrown solution. Abacha did it, and we saw the result under Abacha despite the sanction. So we can still do it. Even before independence, we saw homegrown solutions that delivered in the southwest, in the southeast, even before independence. So why are we afraid to fold our sleeves and then go back to the trenches to do what the Chinese are doing, to do what the Arabs are doing, so that we can reposition our nation? And so any mistake we are making, we know that it's a genuine mistake that is coming from us. And then we'll not give anybody any reason to blame us for actions that ordinarily we will not take.
Right, okay. It's talking about homegrown solution to our problems. Samuel, there's also concerns around, lack of inclusive, development, if you like, or impact of the government policies and so on. For instance, the banking sector is said to be, registering huge profits. For instance, in the last figures released shows that the banking sector alone was able to generate 3.41 trillion naira. This also deepened concerns around the rich getting richer and the poor getting poorer. The government spendings also have come under scrutiny. Huge spendings are targeted at things that would benefit the poor. Those in government, provision of SUVs and so on, renovation of houses of the political office holders and all of that. Do you see a disconnect, in terms of the pattern of spending and where we are today in terms of the poverty level?
I won't accept that there's a disconnect, because some of these things are what is needed for our political office holders to function in their respective offices. Now, I want to start from the issue of subsidy he talked about. I want Nigerians to understand one thing, that the issue of subsidy, this present administration had nothing to do about it. It had to go, because even the budget this administration met in 2023 had no subsidy payment after June 2023, which was at the tail end of that administration. So this administration had no provision to pay subsidy, so subsidy had to go. It's not just about accepting World Bank or IMF policies and line and sinker. No, that had to go. That's one. Now, when he talked about agriculture,
so you mean there is no option? But he was talking about homegrown solutions.
Yeah, I'm driving.
Is it to say that the Tinubu government is bereaved of ideas of addressing the challenges other than removing subsidy?
the issue was subsidy had to go because we remember in this country where a former president said subsidy was a scam, and he ended up paying the highest number of subsidy in the history of Nigeria existence. Now, when he talks about agriculture, we forget so fast that this administration early last year was in Brazil, where they entered into agreement, and as we speak, over 2,000 or thereabout of those tractors have arrived in Nigeria. I think as I traveled last weekend, and after Gwagwalada, before you get to Sisauda, there's this agricultural you find by your right. You see a lot of tractors that are there. We're just getting into the new farming season. Now, I said this administration...
Many believe that is a far cry from what is expected, what is needed in Nigeria. You're talking about 2,000...
I'm coming.
What can they do?
The issue is this. I said something here earlier, and I'm happy he aligned with me, saying, is there a problem? There is a problem. And that's why this government is in. And what does this government do? This government is putting in policies to alleviate the suffering of the people. So that means we are working.
Yet the poverty levels keep increasing.
Is there room for improvement? Yes, there's room for improvement. I still said that the same World Bank report said that what Nigerians are experiencing presently, the number of the suffering Nigerians are experiencing presently, the poverty level Nigerians are experiencing presently is a short-term effect of the removal of subsidy and government policies that have been put in place to better the loss of the people.
We are already 2 years into the administration lifespan.
I told you we are 2 years into this administration, and it is time for us to now review and say, okay, in 2 years we have done this. What have we been able to do with what we have said? What do we meet? Where are we now? Have we made progress? Yes. Is there room for improvement? Yes. So we will improve on what we have done so far. So I told you this
is that what Nigerians are seeing?
Samuel,
is that what Nigerians are seeing? Because right now, the narrative, if you like, or the conversation is around 2027. Governance has taken backseat. The government is busy scheming and strategizing on how to win 2027 elections.
I remember.
So how do we
I remember the same administration, the presidency had come out, I think, was it last week or upper week, to tell Nigerians that they are not being distracted by 2027. We're not talking about 2027 yet. We're talking about this mandate of 4 years that has been given to Mr. President, and I think that's what we should be more concerned about. I've always said it that the information at the disposal of the people, it's not enough to let people know what government is really doing. We have the student loan, which has never been before. It is the working of this administration. As of last week, we had the number of monies that were released by this administration to clear up the backlog of ASU and the rest of them. And we should give it to this administration. For the first time in 2 years, there have not been ASU strike and the rest of them. See, this government is doing a lot. It's just that there was a bigger problem before this administration came. And whatever we are doing now is looking at
the government like pushing the blame when they are already on sit.
We're not pushing.
And the same president said that nobody should pity him. He's here to fix the problems.
That's so why is it complaining? Now, this is to agree with what I said, that there was a problem before this administration came in, and it came in to solve problems. So there's a problem. We know there's a problem, and this administration is doing everything humanly possible to see to it that we resolve this issue. But Nigerians should be patient with this administration. Nigerians should give this administration all the support they need. Nigerians should assist in doing their own part. Every citizen has a responsibility. Let us carry out our responsibility. This administration has done a lot in elevating and reducing the cost of transportation. I said it somewhere in a sister station where this administration has given a lot of kits to private transport companies to convert their cars to CNG, so that as a result it will reduce the cost of fueling their vehicles and the rest of them, which nobody is talking about.
Right. Even around the disparity that has been taken, is also still not inclusive, many will say, because if you look at the disparity in terms of how that is impacting on the states, you will discover that some segments or sections of the country are left behind. Well, let me get Abu Hamis's last line before we let him go. Doctor, we're talking about the missing links, and we're also talking about the triggers. Earlier you talked about some of them, corruption, lack of attention to agriculture and all of that. What do you think needs to be done now to demystify, if you like, or to not to allow Nigeria to slide into this level of poverty that is being projected by the World Bank? Doctor, are you there? I think you need to unmute. Dr. Abdulrahman, are you there? You need to unmute yourself, Doctor.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Okay, very good. Yes. I don't know if you heard the question I asked. Doctor, did you get a question? I think we're having
So I'm saying that I want to start with a note of caution to my friend, Mr. Samuel. In as much as we owe our political parties and our leaders some level of loyalty, I think our greater loyalty should be to the Nigerian citizen and the Nigerian state. Because if we continue on this trajectory, the pocket of protest we are witnessing now will be a rehearsal of the greater protest that will come. Nigeria is for all of us to protect. And where you have poverty and hunger, the rest assured that every other vices will follow. And so we're saying that the government can do more. And what can the government do? The government need to invest. Look, let us not deceive ourselves. Today, we are told that the 2 refineries that is owned by federal government in Nigeria is working. And we equally have Dangote refinery that seems government is fighting. If it were to be another country that will build the economy around Dangote refinery, because Dangote refinery has a lot of prospect to bring in foreign exchange earnings to government where there is proper partnership. What even led to colonialism all over the world was not because the government of Britain or any other colonizing power has industries, but because the citizens have industry, they were paying taxes, they employ people, the army was placed at their disposal to go and conquer territories to ensure that they have market. So there is always a collaboration between entrepreneurs of national government, of nationals, and the government of the day. And we are not seeing that. So we have these disconnections going forward. So if we're talking about reviving agriculture, you cannot talk about reviving agriculture without agro-allied product. And the only company that can produce that in large quantity at a cheaper rate for Nigerians is Dangote refinery. And today there is this seeming fight between NNPCL and Dangote refinery. And it's not to the interest of Nigerians. It's not working to the interest of Nigerians because we need cheap products. See, the problem today of agriculture is both of production as well as transportation. So we're saying that even the movement of fuel from the depot can be done through the railway. Our railway system is working to take it away from these guys that are using that to cheat us. We have refinery in our backyard in Lagos. So the other issue again is transportation costs. So why can't we use railway system? Now, if we really want to get our people out of poverty, first is peace and stability. Without peace and stability, nobody will come and establish their factories in Nigeria. As it is today, a lot of companies are relocating. No matter how you try to justify this, it will not add up because the statistics you will get is that most of these guys are relocating. The second issue again is that our farmers are not able to farm. In fact, our farmers are being killed on a daily basis. And it's a fact. It's being reported every day. There is no amount of government is trying that we really, we need concrete action so that our people can go back to farm. We're not saying that the government is not doing enough, but we're saying that the enough is not enough because people are still being killed and farmers cannot go to farm. And if they cannot go to farm, they can, where somebody needs to cultivate, say, 10 hectares, the person is cultivating half hectare today because he cannot venture beyond that very particular 1 hectare. You go to Borno, farming has been prohibited as a result of the insurgency. Now, how do we do that without peace and stability? And that's why I said, first is security. And the second thing is agriculture, because when we produce and we have cheap means of transportation, then the cost of living will be reduced. And once cost of living is reduced, people can purchase more and farmers will be happy to go back. And I'm saying that the president should please, as a matter of urgency, continue with the Anchor Borers program, review it, enhance it, and deploy it, because that is another source of leakage where we earn dollar through petroleum, and then we give it to India, we give it to Thailand and other countries that are producing rice, and then we have marshland all over the country. Even the milling companies that have come up will fold up. So we are saying that the government needed to, and then the last thing I want to say is it is wrong that the president will increase tax and to make more money available to state governors that are not accountable to anybody and are not deploying it to solve the poverty of their people. Instead, they dwell on buying SUVs, building new government houses at the expense of the masses. And then you just call Nigerians now to make more sacrifice so that the government of the day can take them to the promised land. And then as Nigerians are making sacrifices, they are now seeing their lawmakers, their governors, their local government chairman driving SUVs, pumping champagne. That is an invitation for what? Protests and chaos. And that is what we don't want to see.
Okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Abdulrahman Abu Hamisu, for your informed perspectives. We appreciate you.
Thank you for having me.
Right. Okay. Let me also get your last line, on this, because he raised quite a number of issues, but I want you to summarize. Take a look at he talked about the need to shift focus, to the priority areas. First of all, provide security, for lives and property, especially at the rural level, the farming communities, so that they can go to farm, and then address concerns around transportation and so on. So let me get the last line.
First thing first is I want him to understand that my allegiance is to the Federal Republic of Nigeria. My allegiance is to the people. I speak for the people. Right. I'm an advocate of good governance. So I'm not just, yes, I'm a party man, no doubt about that. Now, when he talked about security is not just one man's business. Security is everybody's business. And we should all be involved. Yeah. What I'm trying to say that he's not saying is, I want citizen participation. Yeah. Citizens' participation in what government is doing. Government is doing what they have to do. Citizen also has a right and has a responsibility of what they too have to do. We also, this Anko program is talking about, remember the corruption and all that was recorded in that program.
But he was saying it to be reviewed so that he can...
So most of the time he aligns with me, but the way it comes, we need, this administration is doing a lot. This administration is looking at these policies also again and reviewing these policies to meet our present day realities. Okay. And I know that at the end of the day, by the time this administration is done in 2027, Nigerians will be grateful and be happy that indeed we have the person of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu as our president.
Thank you very much, Samuel Danjuma, for also talking to us on Daily Politics. We appreciate your coming.